today I'm getting ready to paint, and I thought I would do a little short video on what I do to prep to paint. I know that if you're new, sometimes you'll start and you think, oh, I forgot this, or oh, I forgot that. Or you may be a little disorganized and you think, oh, I left that in the other room. And it really causes you to have a very disjointed and often unpleasant experience. So today I thought I would show a little bit of how I keep my supplies, or some of my supplies, and what I do to get ready to paint. So first of all, one of the things I used to forget so often was wetting my paints. Now I have this little palette. It is from Meeden. I do like it. And I've used many of them. There's some bigger ones that I've toyed with getting, and I have bought other ones, but this is the one for me that I continually go back to. It gives me the basic colors that I need, gives me an adequate mixing area, and I do have the labels on the back and on the sides so I can see, because yes, sometimes you do forget what color is what. But one of the things that I was notorious for forgetting was wetting down my paints. Now, I don't know if you can see this on camera, but my paints are now wet. I used this spray bottle. It's a continuous spray. You pump it and you just wet it. And I took it over to the sink and did that and just sprayed and sprayed until it was adequately wet. Now, another thing that I do very often, because some of the paints seem to soak up more of the water when I spray it. Some of them look really dry. These two right here, the burnt umber and the buff titanium, already look like they've soaked up that water and are dry. So I had bought a packet of these little pipettes, and I keep them around. I just simply pinch it, draw up water, and then push it and release it back into whichever paint well I need to release it into. And that works wonderful. So step number one is, if you're getting ready to paint, make sure you've wet your paints so that they're ready when you're ready, because it does take them a minute or two to soak up the water. So I'm just going to make sure these are all nice and wet. Even if I don't know which ones I'm going to use, I go ahead and wet them all, because I may have a stroke of inspiration and decide I want to dip into this color or that color. Wet your paints is definitely, for me, number one. Also, get your water prepped. Now, you can use any watertight container. I like glass. I have used jars in the past and various other containers. I love this. It's from Meeden. Again, it's the same company who makes this palette, and it's a double reservoir water container. One of the reasons I like about it is you can pick both containers up at once, and you have a dirty one and you have a clean one. The theory is you rinse it here, and then you get 90% of the paint and gunk out, and then you go over here and you have a nice clean water. Or you can always use this one to rinse, and then when you need pure clean water, you can use that strictly for that. I think most painters wind up just in the end just dipping and going, but you've got two containers. I can dump them both out at the same time, and literally I put the water running right here on this center bar, and it fills both of them at the same time. So you're going to need water. If you're drawing your own composition, which let me encourage you at some point to do. I did not in the beginning. Drawing terrified me, if you can imagine. But I just determined I want to do this the best that I can, and I want to learn the drawing aspect of it. This is a little thing. It used to be like a soap. It had two things of soap and hand lotion, and I used it all. And it's actually become something I really enjoy. This is just my favorite tools. I do have a case for all of them. I have tons of water pens, but these are my 3 favorites, so they go right there. That's a Sharpie. These are my favorite Micron pens that I use repeatedly. These are things I use often, and so I keep them in this at a little quick reach. But if you're going to draw your own drawings, pick a pencil that is your favorite. Now this is a 0.3 Pentel. I have much smaller ones, but this is a good average one. It's a very fine line. And then this is just a regular pencil, and I use that as well. And so I keep those also here and handy. Also, because I'm drawing my own drawings, I have a really good eraser. And you can buy these at a pack from any art store or on Amazon. And they just perform expertly on drawings, and you want to erase. I also have several little tiny erasers that can get into tight spots, and they're also stored away with my other pens and pencils. But if I don't want to drag everything out, I keep this handy. Also, my kneaded eraser is absolutely a must-have, because once I'm done, then I can take it, make it roll out to a sausage, and roll it across the paper to remove all the excess graphite and to lighten the graphite on the page. Because once you paint over a pencil line, it's set there. And so if it's really light, usually it'll just disappear over the process of the painting. But if it's really dark, and if you've got dark lines and light lines, it'll show the variance in that. So you'll want to get you a good kneaded eraser and roll across the page. Now, you don't have to roll it. You can also do this. You can also pinch it really tight into a little nubbin, just to get a tiny little spot, which I have done before. This is a must-have. It goes in my all-the-time tray. And I even keep a little wedge of the rubber eraser. This is for removing masking fluid, and so it's also in my everyday tray. Make sure you've got your drawing tools. Next, you're going to want paint brushes. This little tray is a soap dish. I saw this on Margot Halleck, and I loved it. And so it's stone, it's heavy, and because you don't want your brushes to dry like this when they're wet, you don't want them dripping that water back down into the ferrule and the wood of the handle, because we know how wood reacts with water, and in time it will shrink and condense, and it will loosen the ferrule and damage the brush. And we pay a lot for our brushes, so we want to take care of them. If you put them here, at the least, it will drain the water that's in the brush straight down. It will keep it from going back up into the brush. So I have the tray. These are my 5 brushes that I probably use the most. Again, this is an easy way to have supplies ready. I've got my everyday tray of miscellaneous items. I've got my tray of brushes. I've got my paints and my water. Now, one thing I do want to show you is I do have my brushes organized very handily. So these are my smaller brushes, these are my larger brushes, and I keep those close just in case, because often I'll reach for maybe the Rosemary & Co. Eradicator brushes. I use those often. Next, you'll want to have paper, and regardless of whether you're using paper by itself or using a block, make sure you have the paper ready that you want to use. And another thing is you're going to want to have a lot of paper towels. So I prep mine. I have a container that I have taken an entire paper roll, and I've ripped and these are those half sheets, I've ripped them up, piled them up, sat and watched YouTube and folded them in thirds, actually fourths. So I folded it in half, folded it again, and then I store them all in a little bitty box, and then I just grab a few when I'm ready to paint. So you'll want to have several of these ready to go. And in fact, the reason I folded them in this manner is because they fit so well in my hand. So as I'm painting, if I need to dab excess water off or just use it in any fashion, it's very handy to have in my hand. I can even lay it down over here and it doesn't take up a lot of area. Prepping to paint, that's the way I do it. And I hope that helps you guys. Also, I'm going to do a little video of how I determine on my paper the size of what I'm going to paint for future use. It makes a difference if you're going to paint for a greeting card and you paint it too large. When you get ready to crop it, it'll be too small. Likewise, if you're going to frame it and you don't completely paint the area that the frame or the mat will fit, then it might not look correct. So prepping to paint also goes into that. So I'm going to attach that video to this video, and I'd love to know your opinions, and please tell me your tips or tricks or processes of prepping to paint and how you keep all of your supplies together. I originally started painting in a very small area, which may be one of the reasons I love this small palette and these small condensed ways of keeping my supplies, which has grown mightily. But I'd love to know what you guys do. So have a great day, keep painting, and I'll see you soon.